It's Monday, September 19th, and that means it's time for another episode of Nonprofit Conversations. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Cecilia Sept. I am the principal and founder of Road Tulips Consulting. And this week, we're talking about association benefits in this crazy world. Now the world seems a little crazier than usual lately. I think we all know that. But one of the constants of being an employee is annual benefit renewal season. And that's what this week's guest is here to talk with us about. Brian Haney is a financial wizard and expert on all things insurance and benefits. And he is also continuing our trend of first-time guests on the show this year. So welcome, Brian. Can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you, Cecilia, for having me. The quick and dirty is I am the CEO and founder of the Haney Company, and our business is we are a multi-lines financial solutions firm specializing in the association and the nonprofit space. So some of the things that we do on a regular basis are deliver employee benefits, retirement plans, property and casualty, all kinds of insurance and benefit solutions. And let's just say it's we're always busy and never bored.
I love it. And when we were talking before the episode, you shared a Haneyism about employee benefits, and I think that's a great place to start this conversation. Could you share that with the audience?
No, absolutely. I'm so glad. Yeah, I agree. So the Haneyism that I said is a benefit isn't a benefit unless your employees use it because they understand it. And why I feel like we say that so often and try to really reinforce that is that you could be delivering, you could have the Cadillac of benefit plans that you're offering to your employees, platinum this, the best in the world. But if they don't really take advantage of it, if they don't know how to interact with it, or if they're not using it at all, it doesn't matter. And so the critical thing to reconcile is as you're going through and coming into a renewal season, how are you delivering the benefits and how are you helping your employees connect to them and understand them more? Because that is probably more critical than the types of benefits that you're offering.
Well, and you just made me think of something. Can an association offer too many benefits?
Yeah, I mean, yes, sometimes, we've certainly come into situations where, there's normally a core that kind of everybody has: medical, dental, vision, retirement, that kind of things. But sometimes, depending on how an association has gone about things, there's a lot of things that kind of fall under that benefits umbrella. And, we've found organizations kind of constantly adding things because somebody asked about it, or they heard something seemed really interesting, or it was trendy. And all of a sudden, outside of this core, it looks like at renewal time, employees have like 18 things that they're trying to figure out. And the reality is, not all 18 are going to be a valuable or they're certainly not going to engage with all 18. And so sometimes less is more, really refining the offering. And again, really understanding what do the employees really want and need. And that's a process we try to go through is helping do some employee surveys, engagement, and just get a finger on the pulse of what do people really want? Because sometimes an organization thinks they know that, but it's always better to ask your audience first.
There's an idea. Ask a question. Ask me what they actually want. Yeah. So doesn't that also help though with the bottom line at an association? Because maybe you're spending a lot of money on this huge benefits package that you don't need to be spending.
Yeah, well, and that's why that's our model approach for when we're the broker for somebody is to really go through and focus on educating both the employees themselves first, because again, they need to understand what they have, but also educating the organization as they go through the renewal process to say, everybody wants to get that perfect balance between quality and cost. And if, I always say, look, if benefits were free, we would just offer, everything under the sun, it would be fine, but they're not. So how do we really focus in on those key components that are necessary, critical, that are value added, that the employee would use in daily life, but also how do we make sure as we're, picking plans that we find ones that are still going to be sufficiently robust, but also not, break the bank in the process. And if we educate employees about how to use those plans, you can certainly have a lot of good savings opportunities that you'll find just because they know how to use things and don't ask for the wrong type of benefit because, they don't know any better.
Well, and that leads me to my next question. So, when you're looking at trends after the pandemic lockdown, I mean, this was all complicated before that, but the way we work, the way we live, the way we talk to each other has changed dramatically, and that's going to have a long-term effect. So, what are some of the things that you're seeing post-lockdown with affecting benefits? Because people are working virtually, maybe they come to the office only a few days a week.
Yeah, I think we've seen a big trend in emphasizing how can this become really personal and practical in the employees' daily lives. Because, if you're mostly virtual, partially virtual, or, running somewhere along that kind of a spectrum, it is really critical to connect and understand employees that maybe in certain situations you've never actually met in person. We, as a company, hired somebody remotely recently, and only met her when we went to the ASA annual conference for the first time. It was just kind of this fun experience. So we know what that's like. And so I think, again, it goes back to, if we're going through, everybody goes through this renewal process once a year, and that's the time. And we kind of, say, all right, here's what we've got, and here's all the decisions that you have to make. Outside of that, I think it's good to think of education and engagement as a year-round process, and work with a partner, a broker, or benefits consultant, whatever your setup is, to plan sporadic educational engagement. So that way employees can get more information, understand these benefits a little bit better, and also have a predictable way to know that they're going to have somebody helping them out throughout the year, not just this one time, which is once a year, super high pressured, and it's an overwhelming experience if you only do it once a year.
Right. Well, and I have been an employee. I have been there, done that. So I used to say, oh my gosh, get me through this. Get me my insurance card. But it can be kind of confusing though, I think, trying to figure out, well, what all can I actually use, even just with your health insurance. A lot of times health insurance plans have many different options we don't even realize we have. Like my health insurance now offers virtual medical visits. So that's MetaHealth now. We can get all kinds of resources online. We can get coaching, all kinds of stuff now. And I think a lot of that comes out of the virtual world. So I'd like to hear your opinion on this, Brian. Do you think that virtual employees need different benefits than employees who go to the office?
I think in some ways, yes, but in a lot of ways, no, in that, like you mentioned, most of the major medical carriers all now provide what I would say is a wonderfully robust wellness type of platform, where things like video visits and a lot of these online and digital tools and solutions are widely available now. So there definitely are, I think, certain situations where a remote employee, we might want to do certain things, but at the core, most of it's really just making sure we make everybody aware, here's all of these resources that come with this plan, that it's not just when I go to the doctor for my annual physical,
Right.
that there's an entire landscape, a platform, a way to access things, and probably have a much more effective medical, dental, vision type of an experience, because now all of these resources, and you can really then tailor those things to your own needs. Because what my family's own medical dynamic is each year and yours could be very different, and yet the same plan would cover us equally well. We just need to know how to use the plan more effectively.
Well, and I'm with you on that. I am a big believer in give people the information they need. Also, as we were prepping for this episode, you mentioned the dangers of overeducation, which I think, is it, and I think maybe rather than overeducation, it's over-informing. I think sometimes
Yeah.
it's like analysis paralysis. You get all this data dumped on you. Actually, the first time I had a ton of data dumped on me in my early consulting career, I froze. And the person I was working with said, "Oh, you have analysis paralysis. That's all. Just look at one data point at a time." So, what are some tips you might have for educating the employees? Like, what are some easy tips that you can use to easily give people what they need?
Yeah, I mean, we try to go and kind of literally have a calendar of it. So, what might we talk about in January and then in February and in March? And really, again, it's usually a combination of delivering the information regularly, but through a variety of sources, because that's the other thing, right? People learn differently. They have different ways they like to receive information. So always doing webinars might be great for 60% of the people, but maybe there's 40% that would rather go online, maybe listen to a podcast, or they have other ways that they like to figure out the same information. So that's, I think, the other critical piece is, look at it as a continuum, as an engagement strategy. How am I going to help my employees and pull them in more, and then equip them with those types of resources to help them help themselves? The goal should never be, I'm going to give you all the information through some portal and then you're good. It should be, I'm going to help you take one or two more of these steps, but also show you where you can take the other 6 steps you might need to take as well. So it's what are the mediums that you're delivering things on? And just, thinking very, very holistically about it. All of the information and resources are already available, and your broker and partners should be able to pull all of those things off the shelf. You just need to work with them as a partner to put something together and make it regular.
So when you're looking at this, when you're looking at benefits, we talked a few minutes ago about, ask the employees what they would actually use. Don't just give them everything in the kitchen sink, because not everybody wants all that stuff. But how does the benefits contribute to the culture of the organization?
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's because that's what a benefit is, right? It should be an extension of that value proposition as to why they selected you to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, that's why I really, we're placing such a high emphasis on helping connect employees more to that. So it does feel like the organization is really reaching out and taking care of you. And so I think that's where that cultural component of how things get delivered comes into play. You hire somebody new, the last thing you want is for there to be ambiguity about what you expect from them. So you're going to spend a lot of time going through what the job is and what the team is and how to make that employee as successful as possible. We'll take the same approach with what you're then also offering to them in the form of benefits. Mm-hmm. So that way, they really equally feel connected to all of these valuable things that are being done for me. And then they have a perspective that, again, reinforces, what they really do care for me as an individual human being, not just for what I can do for them functionally through my job description. And so that's a very different perspective.
Because they're seeing you as an individual, not just a cog in the machine, because cogs are great in machines, but we all know organizations are made of people.
Yeah.
Not cogs.
And as organizations have gone through, this, I think this also fits in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And as organizations are becoming a lot more dialed into that culture of inclusivity, the culture of care, compassion, and understanding, and of embracing differences, the more you know and understand all of the wonderful people that are working for you, you can use this as a way to further embrace that and further connect and make it be very personal and very intentional. Again, the same medical plan is, everybody's going to have, but how they use it is going to be very, if you educate them the right way, you can give them that value for that unique situation, for that unique family dynamic or relational dynamic or what have you. And so I think, again, delivering things the right way matters as much, if not in some cases more, than what it is you're actually delivering.
I agree with that 100%, because if people don't understand it, if they don't know how to get to it, if they don't know how to use it, then there's no point to it. Like you said earlier, if the benefit's not used, there's no benefit to the benefit.
There really
It just
isn't.
doesn't. So, well, Brian, the last thing I want to talk with you about before we wrap up for this week is, what trends do you see coming in benefits maybe in the next year or two?
Yeah, so we're certainly, the expenses that we're seeing, actually, the good news is this year's renewals, the cost band is a lot lower than we thought. So that's a good thing, is that the expenses are not dramatically escalating like some of the other inflationary concerns that again, we're all dealing with right now. But I think trends really center on some, outside of just the traditional benefit package. So when I think of that, I want to define that. So the core benefits that, again, the vast majority of organizations try to put together: medical, dental, vision, a retirement plan, and some kind of a life and disability. Those, that's kind of that core bundle that we see very often. Outside of that, then it's a lot more what we were talking about. What are these individual needs that we might be trying to address? Maybe those can be through, things like a flexible spending arrangement, where if you have some dependent care expenses that are going to be predictable, if there's a way to help your employees with taking care of their kids and, paying for things that they're already going to be paying for anyway, maybe that's something. And there are even things like, we've actually done quite a bit of, pet insurance, cyber benefit programs. So you can get pretty creative. And I think that that's the fun trend, is that we're trying to explore things a lot more strategically and open up a broader world to organizations, that they can pull things off the shelf that maybe they wouldn't have thought of before. And the key is, go back to I think a point we mentioned earlier, that doesn't mean that you go from offering 6 things to 16, but it does mean that you can really be smart and say, again, the pet insurance is a great example, because one of the trends that happened when everybody was stuck at home is that everybody adopted that missing 4-legged friend that they knew, they always wanted to have, and now they're stuck at home, so they got all the time to take care of it. So, a lot of interest in just pet care in general went up considerably. So, again, that's just a nice way to say, oh, well, we know this seems to be true. A lot of people are interested in that. And that's very personal. I mean, look, people love their pets.
Yeah, they do.
Can't get more, as a dog owner, they're their own people. Pets are people. And so, being able to just have something that recognizes that and kind of honors that type of a relationship as an employer can actually be really meaningful.
It really can. I love the example of pet insurance, because one, is important to have. The veterinary profession also is advocating for that. Get pet insurance so you can make sure you can do the best for your pet, and they can be healthy. But this is the kind of add-on I got from a car insurance company I used to have. They just added it for no additional fee. That, oh, now if your pet's in a car crash, they get covered too. It's like, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. And so then I was telling my new insurance company that, well, they're not so new. I got them a few years ago, and they were like, well, that is a good idea, but we don't do that yet. I said, well, get on it. It's a good thing to offer. It's the right thing to do, and the tasty way to do it, as the old Quaker Oats commercial used to say. So I agree with that. Is a great thing. Well, and that is a really, again, great example, because again, like you said, the lockdown, a lot of people got pets that didn't feel they had the time to. Now they're working at home. Their pets, maybe their office manager or chief of security like mine are. So no, that's a really, really great example. So, unfortunately, we're at the end of this episode. Thank you for joining us. It's been a really great conversation. But before we wrap up, Brian, what is the one thought you would like the audience to take away today about benefits in this crazy world? And how could they get in touch with you if they wanted to learn more?
Absolutely. I think the one thought I would just say is, don't be afraid to think outside the box, because if you're really putting your culture and your employees first, then, be willing to look beyond things that you've done the same way for the last 3, 5, 10, 30 years. So I think that's, that doesn't necessarily mean that at the end of the day, you make changes, but at least you're taking the time to consider and just, really lean into all of the things that are available. Because, results when you take that kind of approach, I think are always great. People can get a hold of me. Probably the best place is actually to find me on LinkedIn. I am very visible on LinkedIn. Please feel free to reach out and connect. And I also have a podcast as well. I'd certainly love to have you check that out. It's the Haney Company Financial Guy Show, and we are on every single podcasting platform under the sun.
Yay.
So,
as are we pretty soon anyway. Well, actually, our iHeartRadio just turned on today.
Oh, great.
So very excited about that because we're inching along getting across all the platforms. So that's great. So can you tell us the name of your podcast one more time, Brian?
Yep, it is the Haney Company Financial Guy Show. Usually when I'm helping somebody find it, if you search for Haney Company Financial or Haney Financial Guy, it pops right up. You'll see my face also pointing up to or holding up our Bulldog logo, and you can't miss it. And again, there's a lot of association focused episodes. I've had some fantastic guests on. It's not just financial stuff, and it's never boring. So go in there and check it out. I think you might find some things that are fun nuggets that would help you out.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you very much, Brian. So we have to go rogue for now, but we'll be back next time with another exciting episode of Nonprofit Conversations. If you would like to learn more about Rogue Tulips Consulting and how we can help your organization think outside the box and bloom outside the box, you can find us online at roguetulips.com. If you are a current CAE or a CAE candidate and you are looking for courses or study groups, check out the 501c League, our education program, at the 501cleague.net. And because I forgot to mention this at the beginning, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our global audience, and thank you for joining us. Well, on behalf of Brian and myself, thanks for being here this week, and we'll see you next time.